Today, everything is down, but not Tesla stock. That's because there is so much good news for Tesla today. Elon Musk is now following Karpathy, who used to be in charge of Tesla's FSD development. He left Tesla to work at OpenAI, but for the first time in about 2 years, he made his first pro-Elon tweet. We know that OpenAI right now is collapsing. And Tesla could greatly benefit from this by attracting some of the top talent from OpenAI, including getting Andre back. I don't think that's why Tesla stock is up today, but it's a pretty big deal. And there are so many more things that are looking really great for Tesla from today's news. Tesla has increased the price of the long-range Model Y in China by about $350. James says this is just another token price increase. The strategy should be obvious here, so basically he's not really so excited about this, but there is data that would suggest this might actually be fairly bullish, not just because it is the second increase for this exact same trim in a short period of time, but also because the deliveries in China last week were very good. 16,300. If you look at week number 7, at least in the last 4 quarters, basically, clearly this is a record for this week. If we did not have this new weekly record, then I would say, okay, yeah, I mean, the price increase, it's good. It's trending in the right direction, possibly in terms of, yeah, maybe there's more demand. Maybe Tesla is seeing something that we are not. Maybe it's just a trick to get people to buy now instead of later because some people are still waiting for more discounts. But looking at this data, either the price increase actually worked, as in people are rushing to buy vehicles now, or there's actually more demand. Or a lot of these deliveries are just refresh Model 3s. In the ideal world, we would want to see the Model Y demand explode because we know there is high demand for the refresh Model 3. But of course, that is not likely to happen. Except it actually did happen. Look at this Model Y demand and deliveries. This is crazy. The refresh Model 3 is up just a tiny little bit compared to the previous week. Maybe that's because quite a few of them were exported. So looking at this data, I can see why Tesla may want to increase the price again. And to me personally, if you have a fourth price increase of, let's say, $250, $300 for the exact same trim configuration, then I say, yeah, that to me starts looking really bullish in terms of there's a lot more demand. So this is good news for us Tesla stock investors. Yan lives in China, and he says that Chinese consumers generally see this new Tesla price increase as a move by Tesla to rush consumers into placing orders in response to the introduction of new low-priced cars from Chinese brands. But you cannot deny the fact that the sales were higher last week. Tesla has certainly gotten quite a bit smarter about increasing pricing. Instead of just going ahead and increasing the price, they actually let everyone know first, oh, we are about to increase the price, which creates a rush of orders. So it remains to be seen if this actually lasts, but this could be a start of more price increases. With such a strong week, Tesla is actually doing better now than the previous record quarter, which is in red. The blue one actually did not end up being a record quarter. So Tesla can certainly have a record quarter in China. The blue quarter was not as good because of the refresh Model 3s being produced, which meant a shortage of Tesla vehicles because it takes some time to switch production. But it is not just China that is looking good. Europe is trending towards a record in daily reporting. Countries with more Model 3 supply coming off ships should support momentum into late November and December. So James is predicting 480,000 deliveries for this quarter. And we have heard some people say that the BEV market in Europe is slowing down, but looking at year-to-date growth in BEVs, yeah, that does not seem right at all. EV market share is still growing fast. And interest rate expectations are looking fairly good. The market expects the interest rates to start going down around March or April, and Gary says probably the most compelling chart for investors to buy Tesla stock is this chart. Lower interest rates provide double benefit for Tesla. Number one, it reduces the odds that Tesla will cut EV prices again. And number 2, long duration stocks benefit most as interest rates fall. Tesla's earnings are mostly in the future, so when you discount these earnings to today, the valuation is then higher if the interest rates are lower, because you just don't have other ways to make money, or certainly at least not as much money as with high interest rates, because you can just buy bonds and get paid a decent percentage every single year, a guaranteed percentage. Here's some more good Tesla stock news. General Motors has just signed an agreement with Tesla China and announced that its EVs will be able to access the supercharger network within China. This comes right after GM announcing that they will no longer advertise during the Super Bowl, where usually they advertise their EVs. This is happening for the first time in years. These higher labor costs probably are putting pressure on GM. Here's some good news. India is closing in on an agreement with Tesla that would allow Tesla to ship its electric cars to the country from next year and set up a factory within 2 years. The discussions, of course, are still private, so this is not officially confirmed, but this is likely to be true. Tesla would commit an initial minimum investment in any plant of around $2 billion and will look to increase purchases of auto parts from the nation to as much as $15 billion. Currently, the number for this year is estimated to be $1.9 billion. The US automaker would also seek to make some batteries in India to bring down costs. All right, that's good. I like that. Nothing, of course, is final yet, but everything is trending towards a very good direction. We also know that Elon intends to visit India in 2024. And more good news here. At this point, it is almost a certainty that FSD beta is actually coming to China. Because if you look at the Chinese user manual, then you will see a lot of information about FSD, exactly how it works, how to use it, and everything else. Before, it was not in there. There were also some additional wording that was added recently in some European countries about FSD, but seems like at least in Germany, some of that has been removed. At least this link to the owner manual does not work anymore. But we have people confirming that there's additional new language about FSD beta in Sweden and the UK as well. It also seems to be in Hungary, so this seems to be a pretty wide update. It's also in the Danish manual. I think it might be easier to figure out in which countries this has not happened yet in Europe. Yesterday we saw Cybertrucks in 2 separate showrooms, and it seems that it is also coming to Florida. I googled the address, and the address does seem to be a Tesla showroom address. So we might indeed start seeing a lot of Cybertrucks in a lot of different showrooms very soon. We also got some new Cybertruck pictures. I like how they put the Cybertruck on the screen here. And we got a glimpse at some of the controls here. There's a car wash mode. I don't think my Tesla has that. And Drive Tesla is asking, is the rear view mirror in the Cybertruck removable? Because you don't see a rear view mirror. But before, we have seen this, so maybe you don't really need to have a rear view mirror.
Look at this thing. Killian, oh, I wish you were here. Look at that guy.
I think that was a very common reaction from all the videos we have seen. Yeah, I think it is pretty clear that it will be a huge advertisement for Tesla, just them rolling on the streets, people seeing them. It is looking pretty good for Tesla. And this Cybertruck has to be the dirtiest Cybertruck I have seen so far. And there's another Cybertruck on display in California. This one is near Long Beach. And here's one more. This one is in New York City. So this is the 4th Cybertruck on display. This is great. Tesla has now started notifying owners through the app that congestion fees will be applied under certain conditions, which is when the supercharger is busy and your battery level is above a certain level. They do not specify exactly what that level is, but I assume it might be different for each supercharger, maybe, based on how busy it is and based on how close another supercharger is that is not congested. I think it's a good update and I welcome it. Oh, and Tesla has actually just given us more details about all of this. According to Tesla's website, the congestion fee is $1 per minute, which is not bad at all, and only applies at 90% state of charge or above. which is really generous. So I really like this as a consumer. Many of us thought that this would be at about 80% maybe. Also, it is currently only applicable in the US. You will receive an alert on your touchscreen and app, after which you will have a 5-minute grace period to disconnect and leave before congestion fees apply. So I think that's a pretty good move from Tesla to add that 5-minute grace period. Although I think some people will think that $1 per minute is quite a bit if you stay there for, let's say, 1 hour somehow. That's going to be $60. Or if you are eating and you stay 30 minutes longer because maybe your meal is late, you're going to pay $30 for that. But I'm pretty sure you could just easily disconnect from the supercharger and then move your vehicle, park it someplace else to avoid that congestion fee. But because the state of charge is set at 90%, I don't think many people will mind the $1 per minute charge, because I mean it's 90%, so you can charge your battery almost to, that's pretty generous. By the way, currently the idle fees are 50 cents per minute if 50% of the stations are occupied. However, some Tesla owners are not fans of this. Many say it is unfair to those who stay plugged in a little longer than the navigation recommends, like in situations when towing or driving in cold weather. But you can charge to 90%. You should be able to comfortably make it to the next supercharger, no problem. Now that we know more details about the Cybertruck, Farzad created this table comparing all of the electric pickup trucks. We know that usually Tesla's vehicles have the best performance for the price that you pay. And looking at this, we can make some educated guesses. Now, the bed of the Cybertruck actually is looking really good, so I like that. Payload also is fairly high compared to these other trucks, and towing is also fairly high. The only question is, what is the price going to be exactly? Now, in the beginning, it could be on the higher side, but as Tesla starts making more and more the Cybertrucks, the price is likely to drop. And by then, the price should be lower than many of those trucks. Farzad is thinking that the Cybertruck dual motor with 350 miles could start at $69,000. Here's more good news for us Tesla stock investors. Ford says it is scaling back plans for a $3.5 billion battery plant in Michigan as consumers move to electric vehicles more slowly than expected labor costs rise and the company moves to cut costs. We are moving forward with the plant, albeit in a slightly smaller size and scope than what we originally announced. Increased labor costs factor into Ford's decision to scale back the plans. Ford CFO last month said the new deal would add $850 to $900 per vehicle assembled in labor costs. We are now seeing real effects of the strike take place, and it is not great for Ford. How is it going to compete in the long term? By making less electric vehicles is the answer, because right now with every one they sell, they lose money, and they are not keen on investing a lot more money into EVs, it appears. They are nowhere near as committed to EVs as Tesla is. It still looks like there's something going on between Tesla and Indonesia. The Indonesian Coordinating Ministry for Maritime and Investment Affairs denied claims that Tesla withdrew its investment plan in Indonesia. But I am not really expecting Tesla to do anything in Indonesia in the medium to short term. Elon posted this: "There's a large graveyard filled with my enemies. I do not wish to add to it, but I will if given no choice. Those who pick fights with me do so at their own peril, but maybe this is their lucky day." And oh yeah, I forgot to add that I am my own worst enemy by far. No need for others to dig my grave when I'm doing it so well myself. We know that Elon is going to fight Media Matters in a huge lawsuit, but luckily for Elon, Texas Attorney General has opened an investigation into Media Matters for potential fraudulent activity already. Here's a full summary of Elon suing Media Matters. I think it is very likely that Elon is going to win this one, which I think is also important for us Tesla stock investors, because if they continue to trying to make an impression that there's a lot of anti-Semitic and fringe content on X, and at the same time a lot of ads are shown next to it, it's bad for X, because a lot of advertisers do not want that, and then they stop advertising, which means Twitter/X does not make any profit really, and then maybe Elon would have to sell Tesla stock again, which does seem a lot more likely after all of these advertisers have stopped advertising on X again. But if Elon wins this lawsuit, it will prevent a lot of these organizations from trying to defame X, because they know if they try, they are going to face some serious consequences. We know that Cruise is going through a disaster, but this disaster just keeps getting worse. Not only did the CEO and the chief product officer have just resigned. In a live stream meeting Monday, GM executives, including the CEO of GM, did little to assuage employees' concerns. People who listened told Reuters the company did not address a long list of questions workers had compiled concerning Cruise's future or about a controversial plan to halt a share resale program. I mean, during a time of huge crisis, you try to reassure people. You try to do something that would show, yeah, you are committed to this, you are serious about this, but it doesn't seem like the CEO of GM is actually trying to do that. There's a good possibility that Mary Barra just wants to end Cruise, maybe sell it or just close it. Because let's also not forget that GM put money in Nikola. So Cruise, as James, is now worse than betting on Nikola. $3.5 billion in the toilet. Ouch. There's a theory of what's going on at OpenAI. We know that OpenAI wanted to raise more money at a valuation of $80 or $90 billion, up from $29 billion. The theory goes like this. Sam Altman says we are raising at a $90 billion valuation. The CEO of Microsoft says, how about I just acquire the entire company for zero and give you a blank check? Sure, that works. We'll need to stage an elaborate spectacle, do you think? That you could make the board livid so that they fire you. But that's just a theory, and we still don't know what happened exactly. Why did the board make that decision to fire Sam Altman? But we just found out that over the weekend, OpenAI's board approached its top startup rival about a potential merger. They wanted the CEO of this rival startup to become the CEO of basically OpenAI. The co-founders of this rival startup were also executives at OpenAI until 2020, but they broke from their employer over disagreements regarding how to ensure AI's safe development and governance. So it does seem perhaps that the reason why Sam Altman was fired was because perhaps he did something that the board really did not like in terms of AI safety, although we have heard that that's not really the case, but I'm not really that sure. More drama is sure to come from this story later. So I just literally checked the news, and here's what I saw. The new OpenAI CEO threatens to resign unless the board explains why Sam Altman was fired. Less than 48 hours ago, he was appointed as the new CEO. There's an article here that says Tesla shareholder calls on board to suspend Elon Musk for agreeing with anti-Semitic post. This Tesla shareholder says Tesla's board should put Musk on leave for 30 to 60 days and require him to attend empathy training or therapy. It is interesting though that CNN wrote exactly how many shares Elon owns and exactly how much approximately these shares are worth, $96 billion. But when it comes to this other Tesla shareholder, they just say how many shares. They did not say how much in terms of dollars. And that number is actually under $5 million. So yeah, this is not really worth talking about. Remember how Fisker's chief operating officer just resigned? Well, Fisker just announced they received a notice from New York Stock Exchange on November 16th indicating that the company is not in compliance. So it makes sense that the chief accounting officer would resign. Probably it is looking quite a bit worse than it appears. They lost their second chief accounting officer in less than a month. This is crazy. The Kia Connect app has a daily limit of remote service requests and will lock you out for the rest of the day if you exceed it. Unclear what the limit is, but it's not much. Wow, this is a silly limit. You would never have a problem like this with a Tesla. You know how Europeans are investigating some Chinese companies because they think that some of these EV companies are getting subsidies from the government, which makes it unfair when these cars are then imported into Europe because Europeans then cannot really compete with them. Well, the president of China just expressed his pleasure in seeing more French products entering the Chinese market and welcomed more French companies to invest in China. He also hoped that Chinese companies would be treated nicely in France. Currently, that investigation into Chinese automakers by Europeans is working in Tesla's favor because Tesla is not being investigated, even though Tesla imports a lot of vehicles from China to Europe. So if these investigations end, that would not be exactly great news for Tesla, but it's not really all that bad because I don't think these investigations are likely to result in huge penalties for Chinese companies because China would probably retaliate to Europeans and Europeans don't really want that. But we'll see what happens. This will come as a shocker to many because Dan Ives just said we are initiating coverage on Vinfast with an outperform rating and a $12 price target. We have seen the impressive Vinfast operations in Vietnam firsthand and came away extremely impressed with its EV footprint. We see Vinfast as one of the global winners in the EV race. So he basically thinks that stock will double already. It's worth $14 billion in terms of its market cap, but that's after a drop of about 91%. If you remember, if you followed me in the summer, I said, yeah, this is looking preposterous. It was clear that is going to fall really bad. Anyway, they are not really delivering many EVs, and the EVs that they are delivering in the US, I've seen a lot of bad things about them. So personally, I will stay away from VinFast, but if you get lucky, you could make some money here, but it's very risky. If you watched every single one of my videos, a while ago, you heard me say that, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Binance. It seems shady. And today, we have this. Binance is a crypto exchange platform, by the way, sort of like FTX. Binance to pay $4.3 billion in fines, and the CEO is about to step down and will plead guilty to anti-money laundering charges. This does not look great for Ford. Ford Mach-E sales are struggling. I've heard this from lots of dealers. I've been in sales for 7 months at the Ford dealer. Still have never had a customer or a lead for a Mach-E. Wow. Researchers are recycling all Nissan Leaf batteries using bacteria? Maybe using bacteria is the future of recycling. Pretty fascinating. Troy basically just posted his expectations for next year in terms of deliveries. He thinks, based on how this is worded, that there's a 90% chance that Tesla will deliver 2 million vehicles next year, 70% chance Tesla will deliver 2.1, and 40% chance Tesla will deliver 2.2 million. But I think this also does not really take into consideration Tesla's advertising. Up until now, Tesla's demand was just based on Tesla having no advertising, but we don't really know exactly how Tesla's demand will look once Tesla starts seriously advertising. And my guess is if Tesla really figures out advertising, the demand would be extremely strong. This post is sort of going viral on X. Sam Teller says, I spent nearly 5 years as Elon's chief of staff. In that time, I never observed a trace of anti-Semitism. These critics ignore a lifetime of Elon's actions to suggest that he is someone he is not. I like it when people come out like this and defend Elon. Did Tesla stock bottom? Are we going to go up from here? I just published a new exclusive video on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you will get access to how much I think it is fair to pay per Tesla share each year between 2023 and 2033. If you sign up for the investor tier of support, you will also get my valuation model of Tesla stock with a 45-minute video walkthrough.